Professional football in America is a special game, a unique game. Played nowhere else on earth, it is a rare game. The men who play it make it so.
Hey, baby, let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs. Have some fun.
Coming now, buddy. We on our horse all day long. Let's just kick that butt all day long. Pick it up. Don't stop. Pick it up. Let's go.
Get after the ball. Tackle somebody.
Welcome to This Week in Fantasy Football. I'm your host, Mike Cardano, along with Scott Engel, Fantasy Sports Writing Association Hall of Famer. Scott Engel, the king. How are you, Scotty?
Good, and congratulations to the newest members of the Fantasy Sports Writers Association, which we announce on our SiriusXM show exclusively on Friday, like we do every year. John Hansen of SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, well known to people, long time as the fantasy guru. Congratulations to John. And Glenn Wagner, who was one of the fathers of the rotisserie baseball movement.
You know, I was screwed.
With what?
I didn't get any votes.
That's because you have to be in the industry for 10 years. You have to be published for 10 years, so you got about another 8 or 9 to go before you become eligible.
I was screwed.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got Week 11 in the NFL, Week 11 in fantasy football. Coming down the stretch run, for those of you who've got some playoff aspirations here, might be getting a little nervous. Some of you guys may be out. If you're totally out of it, switch over to daily fantasy. You could still have some fun and enjoy your Sundays there.
Yeah, and we have a brand new daily fantasy sports package on rotoexperts.com. Check it out at rotoexperts.com/daily, featuring two of the best daily players anywhere out there, in Drew Dinkmeyer and Mike Leone. And 7 days a week, they publish fantasy basketball content.
And you going to do your Google Plus thing again this Sunday?
Every Sunday through week 17. It's the Google Plus Hangout on video, Sunday 10 to noon. I'll answer all your questions.
Yeah, got a question? Hit up Scotty. He'll take care of you here. All right, we have some questions here. Let's go with the celebrity questions first. We've got 4 celebrities this week, and then the common folk. But
Why do you
keep
calling them common folk?
Yeah,
These people are important. Stop insulting them.
Do you know the band Oasis? You know the band Oasis?
Yes.
You know Noel Gallagher. I didn't know Noel Gallagher.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, I do.
Wonderwall fame. That's the only song that I know that they sang.
My son likes Oasis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Noel has a question for us. Welcome, Noel. All right. And apparently he's been listening here. He says, Mike said earlier this week that one of his favorite quarterback replacements for Aaron Rodgers and Tony Romo was Case Keenum. He made a pretty compelling case. You guys often disagree. It's because you're very adversarial, most of it. He wants to know if you agree in this instance.
I actually agree with a guy that doesn't make sense very often. If you look at my lineup rankings on rotoexperts.com, he's actually my 8th ranked quarterback for this week because he faces the Oakland Raiders this week. I love him. I'd use him over Phillip Rivers this week.
Are you making a decision based on the defense?
The quality of the quarterback and the defense.
Okay.
He's been playing very well. The Oakland Raiders defense might spend too much time on the field this week because the offense isn't that good. Sometimes Mike, he'll get lucky, but I prefer the in-depth analysis. But again, we come to the same conclusion. So I like Case Keenum a lot this week.
You do? Okay.
Yes.
Based in part on the defense.
Not only on the defense, though.
Unfortunately, our audience wasn't privy to the discussion we had before we got it. All right, so Noel.
Spare them.
But what do you think he's going to do this week, Case?
Like I said, my statistical projection: 275 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception.
He's got all these college passing records. He does a remarkable job of finding a way to pump that ball into the end zone week in.
What I like about him is he throws well on the run, and he's got tremendous zip on his passes, and he's accurate.
Yeah.
At least so far. He impressed me last week when he went on the road in Arizona and he played well. He passed the road test.
His body of work so far, it is kind of amazing that he didn't get drafted at all.
Yeah, look. We can go back in history and look at guys that weren't drafted.
But it's not like nobody knew who he was. He had all those records.
Yeah.
He wasn't a Division III guy or something.
I mean, of course, I'll go back to Seattle history. Dave Craig was a very competent NFL quarterback. He wasn't
fumbled a lot. Small hands.
Yeah, small hands. But he wasn't drafted. He came out of the defunct college, Milton College.
Yeah, but this guy didn't. He's got every Division
What I'm saying is sometimes the drafters don't always get it right. Look at Marcus Colston.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, moving on. I've got a question from Mr. Ripken for you. What's
Cal
your
or Billy?
Billy.
Billy.
Yeah. Oh,
You know the old baseball card legend?
what's
On the bottom of the barrel of his bat?
What's it say?
There was a baseball card, and he posed for it, I believe, on the bottom of the barrel of his bat. It said F-U, but it had the whole word.
Oh, okay.
And it got printed.
Well, Billy had a decent career. And we've got a picture of him, I think, here with his brother Cal and his father.
Cal Sr. and Cal Jr.
How about that, though? The father got to coach both of them at the same time. That's pretty interesting.
It is cool.
That's pretty good. So he carved out quite a nice career for him, and now he's doing the whole Billy Ripken baseball school thing, the Ripken School, and he's on MLB.com, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Or on the television station, maybe.
I'm not sure, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think he does a lot.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, well, Billy's got a question for you. He wants to know, what defense do you like better this week? Arizona, who's versing Jacksonville, or the Jets or the Bills, who are playing each other?
Forget the Bills.
Really?
The Jets and
Because the Jets have a juggernaut offense? Is that why?
Well, the Bills are missing both their starting wide receivers, and in a divisional game, you just can't
No. He wants to know what defense you like better. Whose defense? The Arizona defense, the Jets defense, or the Bills defense?
I understand the question. I'm moving the Buffalo defense out immediately. To me, it comes down between Arizona and the Jets, and it is so close. You look at my lineup ranks on RotoExperts.com this week. I have Arizona 2, and I have the Jets 3. I love both of them this week, but I think Arizona going against Jacksonville, very aggressive defense. I slightly prefer Arizona.
And where did you have the Bills in that way down the food chain?
Not relevant.
Okay.
Not relevant. It's just they have too many problems right now to where that defense might spend too much time on the field.
Okay. So it's Arizona. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very
really hope
close
that
with
helps
the
you.
Jets, though. I really like the Jets this week.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with the Ed Reed signing either.
I completely forgot about that. How much time could he play? How many snaps can he play, really? So.
I think, you know what I think it does for the Jets defense, though, the last few weeks, though? We've seen with the Jets defense that they have some really good weeks and they have some really bad weeks. I think they might be more consistently a better defense going ahead with Ed Reed.
Well, a lot of people were beating him over the top. He might stop that.
He's past his prime.
He's a ball
I don't know
hawker.
if he's going to do that, but I think, emotionally and from an intangible perspective, he can help solidify that defense.
You know what I think of when I see Ed Reed all the time?
What?
Grady from Sanford and Sons. No?
I like that. That's funny.
That's what I think about. Grady.
All right. Next question, you big dummy.
Okay. All right, we got another question from a recording artist, Mr. Tom Petty.
Tom Petty. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
He's one of the great American recording artists in my lifetime, I think. He's really pumped out a lot of music here. So
Yes.
so he
tell your fantasy opponents, I won't back down. Yes.
There you go. All right. He listens to the Sirius XM show, obviously, because he heard me on the Sirius show talking to you.
Really?
So he says.
Tom Petty's listening to this series.
All right. So I heard Mike on Sirius XM talking to you about, because the question's to you, about replacing Trent Richardson with Donald Brown. This has been a sore topic here. I've been tweeting about it a lot and stuff.
Yeah.
He wants to know, now, to be fair, this question came in before Thursday night's game, okay, and we held it for the show.
Yeah.
So, but he wants to know, why, Scott, do you seem so hesitant to do that, replace Richardson with Brown? It seems so logical. Now, I just want to give a disclaimer here. As of today, we're taping on Friday.
Donald Brown scored 2 touchdowns last night.
But Richardson is still owned in 93.8% on NFL.com and 100% on ESPN.com. And Brown is only owned in 14.1% on NFL.com and 7.8% on ESPN.com. Now, I know a lot of people play on Yahoo. I stopped quoting those because they're so different. I just don't think they update them as accurately. The numbers are always so different than
I think they do update them accurately, but I think a lot of people, these are public league ownership percentages.
Right.
So I think a lot of times you're going to get people that'll stop playing, robot teams,
Okay,
stuff like that.
That's why I stopped quoting, because some people have wrote in, how come you're not quoting
I don't know if
them?
ownership percentage always accurately reflect the type of player that we get that watches this program, that listens to this series.
And it doesn't reflect how many starting. It could be on the roster and not starting.
Yeah. To Tom's question, I'm not saying it's not illogical to replace Trent Richardson with Donald Brown. I even would have said this before the game. The issue is that in most leagues that our listeners and viewers play in, Donald Brown's not a free agent. So when we go through the whole Trent Richardson thing,
well, they're only on 14% on NFL.com and less than 8% on ESPN.com.
Again,
that's a lot of your listeners. No,
again, I don't, and for whatever reason, I'm still trying to find out. It confounds even me. A lot of the. Every time, or most times, I'm not saying every time because nothing in fantasy sports is absolute. Most times, I would say, if somebody asked me cut Trent Richardson, I'd say, okay, who are you going to cut him for? And the name Donald Brown never comes up. Because in the type of leagues where I often get this question,
he's taken?
He's taken because the owners are smart enough to know to own him.
Okay. Well, you've got the elite people listening to the program.
Look, if it's a 10-team league, though, okay, if it's a 10-team league, that's different, though. That's what I'm saying. We can't always look at everything in a vacuum. If this is a 12-team league or a 14-team league, Donald Brown's not going to be available in a lot of cases.
Right.
But if you're in a 10-team league, okay, 10-team leagues are different, or even an 8-team league, and Donald Brown's out there, okay, then it makes sense to have Donald Brown over Trent Richardson. But in the average 12 to 14 team league, you don't cut Trent Richardson, and Donald Brown's not going to be available in a lot of those situations. So it's about context, too.
All right, I'm guessing Tom has Donald available in his league. Should he make the switch if he has the option? Okay.
But you know what, though? The game, it really depends on his league settings. You know, the game has already went down. You may not be able to do the add drop at this point. You might have to wait until the week is over.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Tom, I hope that helps you out.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. We have a question to a New York hockey legend, Mr. Mike Richter.
Mike Richter, the goalie.
The goalie.
Yes.
Rangers.
You know, you've had two Adam Ronis favorites on the show in 2 weeks. Last week, the Undertaker. This week, a Ranger.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You would think Adam was arranging these things. All right, well, Mike, we're going to pose you a question here. He wants to know, with Kyle Rudolph out, what are your thoughts on John Carlson the rest of the way? Now, I'm guessing this was spurred on by last week. Carlson had 7 receptions, 98 yards, 1 TD by 15 standard fantasy points by any metrics. That's a good week for a tight end. He's owned 1.9% in the NFL.com leagues and 0.9% on ESPN.com.
That would sound accurate.
I'm guessing even the people calling Sirius in the morning
or
don't
watching this show.
Yeah.
And you know what? John Carlson, though, this past week, though, was picked up in a lot of leagues, though, that I saw. And he's still available in some leagues. With Carlson, his rookie year, he was very impressive. But every time John Carlson got a chance to step forward after that, he just didn't deliver. Now, look, he had a good game last week, and I'm not saying it can't happen because he does have the talent.
But Ponder had a good game for himself, too.
Yeah, Ponder had a good game for himself. He faces his former team, the Seahawks, this week. And guys play good against their former teams, but I haven't seen a whole lot of body of work to be that confident in John Carlson. Now, I will say this, though. If you have room to stash him and, you have some tight end trouble, take the flyer and put him on the roster. But this is not a move that is highly encouraging. I had to pick him up in one of my leagues because I have a tight end issue. All you can do is pick him up and hope, that he can repeat what he's going to do. But I can't reassure you that this is going to be a terrific pickup. But I think it's one you have to make in a lot of cases.
Would you classify him as better or worse than somebody like Timmy Wright?
Worse.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
I was trying to pick somebody on this level. Worse?
Close.
Right. Okay. So
I'd rather have him than, say, Rob Hausler. But
Hausler's just healthy now, though. He wasn't really healthy.
But I'd much rather have Charles Clay.
Okay, there we go. Those are the.
And I'd definitely rather have anybody over Jared Cook.
Okay. All right.
The Sasquatch. We hear about him. We never see him.
All right, let's move on to the to Twitter questions here. We have from @7sins. Mike, hope that answers your question. @7sins wants to know. He says Tony Gonzalez has 30 yards or less in 3 of his last 4 games and just 1 TD in the past 5 games. He's pretty disappointed.
And he's got a toe problem, too.
He's got a toe problem. So he's clearly not going out with a bang. Should he trade him for Antonio Gates? He apparently has an offer.
If he has an offer, he has to do that. But here's the thing. A lot of times, and again, context, Mike. A lot of times we get these questions, should I trade him for him? And you haven't made the offer yet. If the offer is on the table, automatic. I take it. But a lot of time we get these questions, the person is thinking about offering for it. If I had Antonio Gates, there's no way.
Is that based on the toe?
No, there's no way I'm trading for Tony Gonzalez.
No. I mean, the reason you don't like Gonzalez at this point because he's an elite tight end based on skill.
Let's forget the toe. Okay, let's forget the toe. I still would
trade. You like Gates more than Gonzalez.
You know why?
As a player.
Because it's almost two similar ranked players at the same position. If I have Gates, that doesn't help me at all. In fact, the way Gonzalez has played might be a minor downgrade for me. If I have Antonio Gates, there's no reason I'm doing this trade.
Okay.
So if you haven't offered it yet, it's unlikely to happen. I'm not saying it won't. But if it's on the table, do it.
Okay. All right. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Next question from @NotSilent. This person won't shut up, I guess.
I guess that's not our producer on the Sirius XM show, Silent Rob.
Would you sit Tom Brady this week? Now, we were talking about this before.
Yes.
Here we go. Mm-hmm. Would you sit Tom Brady this week against the Carolina defense in favor of playing Russell Wilson against the Vikings?
Yes, because Russell Wilson, several reasons why I like him.
Now, you just incriminated yourself.
How incriminating?
Because we argued for a half hour about sitting Tom Brady this week.
Yeah, but it was against Eli Manning, though, not Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's a terrific start this week. Percy Harvin's coming back this week, okay? The Vikings allow the...
How many snaps he played?
The Vikings allow the second most points to fantasy quarterbacks, okay? Plus, he gets back Russell Okung, okay? Giacomini and Unger. He gets 3 offensive linemen and Percy Harvin back this week against a bad pass defense, 26th rank. Russell Wilson's a terrific start this week.
We'll get into it more when we go over the games. How many snaps do you think Harvin plays? More than 15?
I think they get him in because, they have a bye week next week and they really want to get him in that offensive flow. I think he plays enough to the point where he may score a touchdown.
Really?
He's been practicing in full.
I would guess he doesn't play that much.
He's not going to play a full complement. He's not going to start, but he's going to get in there some key situations. I say he scores this week.
All right, so you would sit Tom Brady?
For Russell Wilson, yes.
Okay.
I'm not saying I would sit Tom Brady outright.
That you would sit Tom Brady?
It depends on what... No, you're not going to do that, okay?
Let's move on.
Start and sit propositions are never that simple. You just don't sit. You just don't cut. And this is where you and I get into debates because you don't understand that. It depends on what your other choice is.
All right, here we go.
I'm trying to upgrade him from being simple-minded. So it'll work over time.
All right, he admitted that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move on. Paul Rosenthal says that Mike pointed out early in the week. I point out a lot of good things early in the week. They keep referring to it. That the Jaguars have given up the 3rd most fantasy points to quarterbacks. Would you hesitate to play Carson Palmer? Now, before you answer, I think I know your answer, but Carson is owned 17.8% in NFL.com leagues and just 8.7% ESPN.com leagues. So now, this kind of goes the other way. You've got a defense that's performing poorly against quarterbacks all year, 3rd most points. So would you hesitate to play Carson Palmer? Obviously, he doesn't feel he has a better option. Not an obvious one anyway. So.
I would always hesitate to play Carson Palmer regardless of the matchup. But then again, it depends on who else we're talking about and what your other option is. Again, we got to add the context, but I always hesitate to play Carson Palmer.
But if it's Manuel in Buffalo.
It's Carson Palmer.
Okay.
But if it's Tom Brady, I'm not playing Carson Palmer over Tom Brady.
Even though you just sat him for Russell Wilson.
Context. Learn, okay?
Let's
learn things here.
I just want to clarify the fact to the folks here that you admitted you were going to sit Tom Brady
in favor of Russell Wilson. But I would not sit Tom Brady for Carson Palmer.
Embellish and add on to the sentence
because it makes you look wrong. Then I get it.
All right, here we go. We have a question from Karen.
You can never have straight yes, no, start, sit answers in fantasy. That doesn't help anybody. That's not why we're here.
Well, they ask for a yes or no or whatever. Ultimately,
no, they don't.
Ultimately, they want to know.
People want color behind it.
Yeah, but ultimately, they want to know. They're asking you what to do.
But they want to know why we come to our conclusion.
They're begging for your help.
Yes, but they want to know why we come to the conclusion so they can feel reassured.
Yeah, but if you're right, they don't care why. Right?
No, they do care why.
If you win,
they want to be convinced.
If you win your league by luck or by skill, you don't care. You won.
You don't win your league by luck or by skill. You win it with both. And when you back up the answer, you're going that way.
Okay. All right. Well, as long as you admit it.
Yeah.
All
It's
right.
not just on yes, no, start, sit.
Karen
that's simple.
From Middletown, New York, She wrote in a handwritten note, which is kind of romantic, I think. Anyway,
Okay,
the ladies,
Jared?
they write stuff. Except the note was addressed to Pat Mayo.
So why don't you forward it to Pat?
I know we're going to bring in Pat now from our Toronto studio, and Pat knows Mayor Rob Ford.
Really?
Rob of Toronto, and he follows him on Twitter. He's a big fantasy sports guy. We got a picture of him here at the Toronto
I want
game.
him in my league.
And so he's at the Blue Jays game here, and the mayor follows Pat religiously on Twitter.
Right.
If you follow their exchanges and stuff.
You might want to block him, Pat. He's not good news.
If you could take a few minutes, Pat, from partying with the mayor, and maybe putting the crack down for a little bit.
Lou Mayo does not want you partying with that guy.
And answer Karen's question here, Pat. We'll bring on Pat here in a moment. So, Pat, here's the question. Karen wants to know, with the way the Broncos' offensive line has had trouble protecting Peyton Manning lately, and Denver having to play Kansas City twice within 3 weeks, what are your thoughts on trading Peyton Manning for Matthew Stafford? She needs to make a playoff push here.
I like where your head's at, Karen, because I'm thinking exactly the same way, which probably doesn't bode well for your future. But Manning, he'll be fine this week against Kansas City. He's Peyton Manning. But if the Broncos win, they'll get the tiebreak on the Chiefs. So Manning could be shut down by fantasy playoff time. Plus, he's dealing with injuries and cold weather and all that other nonsense. Stafford, he's not going to have to deal with that, so I do like him going forward more. But that can't be the trade. Peyton's more valuable than Stafford in terms of trade value. So what you need to do is find out another piece you can package together with Stafford and trade straight up for Manning. That's the move. And make it.
All right, Patrick, thank you for that, and you can go back to partying. All right, let's move on to the NFL games for the week. We've already had Indianapolis and Tennessee, 30-27 final. We know Donald Brown did well, and that was pretty much that. Although I didn't, I thought it was kind of weird that the Titans were celebrating so much in the end zone when they scored that last touchdown there with like a minute to go. They were still losing.
I think the most interesting thing is the game of Chris Johnson. The last 2 weeks have been a
He
microcosm.
shut down at the very good in the first quarter and nothing after that. But it counts. It all
in
counts.
the final analysis, that doesn't matter because nobody
Because it's
performs
only
well
about the
over a full
stats.
game. It's you see guys at big games sometimes they get shut out in the first half, do well in the second half. But Chris Johnson, the last 2 weeks have been a microcosm. Disappointing against the Jaguars, explosive against the Colts.
Yep.
You never know what you're going to
An
get.
enigma. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we've got the Oakland Raiders at the Houston Texans. And I guess you like Case Keenum.
Yeah, I like Case Keenum. Andre Johnson is, scoring more touchdowns with Keenum, it seems like, than with any other quarterback in his career. I like Ben Tate in this game, probably to get in the end zone. I love the Houston defense in this game. Terrell Pryor's not playing well. Looks like he will go with the knee injury. I don't know if Rashard Jennings is going to do a whole lot. This game's pretty simple to analyze. I mean, you like the Texans, maybe even DeAndre Hopkins if you need to take a flyer on a wide receiver if you're missing Des Bryant this week, who's on a bye. But every reason to like the Texans at home this week.
Now, despite their record, I actually think Houston is the number one rated defense in terms of yardage.
In fantasy, though, they don't get enough turnovers for you, though. That's the issue.
And that's part of the reason their record's so poor, too.
Yeah, but if your league counts points against when talking about defense, it makes it even better play.
Right. Okay. All right. Let's move on to Washington at Philadelphia. Notice how I use the city names to avoid any propriety of saying anything wrong.
The viewers are starting to get upsetting. So stay away from that, okay? I've been asked
It's
to tell you to
Washington
stop.
against Philadelphia.
Stop talking about.
I didn't say anything.
When we get to
Washington and Philadelphia.
When we get to another game from South Florida, please say Miami. Okay? Washington and Philadelphia, I think we're going to see a lot of points this week in this game. The quarterbacks are both great plays. Pierre Garçon and Riley Cooper, both top 10. You got to like Deshaun Jackson. Maybe Leonard Hankerson gets in the end zone. I know Pat Mayo likes him as a sleeper this week. Jordan Reed's a top start. Alfred Morris should get in the end zone. LaShawn McCoy. Just play just about everybody that you pretty much have. And if you're looking for a tight end, maybe even give Zach Ertz a crack, though. But Zach Ertz really hasn't proven it yet.
You're not looking for any defense in this game.
No.
Okay.
I'm looking to exploit the defense in this game.
Okay.
Yes.
Both quarterbacks, you like everybody. Okay.
Yeah, in my lineup ranks this week, Robert Griffin III is my number 4 quarterback, and Nick Foles is number 6, I believe.
Yeah. Now let me just point out. Foles got it done last week, but two of those touchdowns he threw were
one was underthrown, the other one was tipped and should have been intercepted. but when you're going well, the breaks go your way.
Yeah.
But overall, like Chip Kelly said this week, 16 touchdowns, no interceptions.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. All right,
13,
let's move on.
I think, though.
The
13
Lions visit the Steelers this week, and Ben Roethlisberger, there are people, some saying he wants out.
Roethlisberger shot that down as a totally false.
They're talking about he doesn't study the game plan enough. Yada yada yada.
Oh, I thought you were talking about where he has to be traded.
Well, that too. But
his teammates were not good, but the Steelers are a team in disarray. I do think Roethlisberger can score some points this week. You got to like Antonio Brown, Emmanuel Sanders, a decent play. Like Le'Veon Bell, though, I think they're going to ride Le'Veon Bell heavy because they want to control time possession and keep that explosive Detroit offense off the field. Right now, to me, unquestionably, Matthew Stafford is the third best quarterback in fantasy football. Now, people saying, should I bench Matthew Stafford this week because he faces the Steelers, and the Steelers only allow about 17.5 points per game to opposing quarterbacks? You don't bench Matthew Stafford no matter who he faces. He's a must-play every week. Him and Calvin Johnson. I think Reggie Bush is going to have another 100-yard day, and I like him a lot. Nate Burleson is not quite ready to come back to this team yet, though.
The Saints are clearly a different offensive team when they're home. Do you view Detroit that way at all?
No, I think they can score anywhere. They did it at Chicago.
Right.
Yeah, to me, Matthew Stafford.
Well, remember for a long time. I don't know that Stafford was only beginning. They went for years without winning a road game.
Well,
Stafford wasn't there yet. He was for a little.
You know what, though? They didn't have a running game. It was different because they were more predictable offense because you knew they were going to pass. Now with Reggie Bush, there's more of the threat of the run game.
Yeah.
They're more balanced offense than they were in the past.
And they could just throw the ball up to Calvin if they get lost.
They used to say that about the Seahawks, too, and the Seahawks are 5-1 on the road this year. So sometimes you got to let go of those stigmas, and those stigmas include, the Steelers being a totally invincible defense. Far from it at this point.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the Jets at the Bills. They're playing in Orchard Park. Now, I'm guessing by what you said before, you think the Jets have a chance to win this game, but I'm also guessing that you probably don't think that there's anyone fantasy relevant in the game.
No, I wouldn't say that. I think Chris Ivory can get a lot of rushing yardage and maybe somebody who uses a flex. I think if you're absolutely desperate, maybe you roll Santonio Holmes out there. I think you always have to consider C.J. Spiller. But with both Stevie Johnson and Robert Woods not expected to play, the Jets can load up against the run. It's going to make it hard to use Spiller or Jackson, but they're not totally irrelevant. Scott Chandler's not totally irrelevant either. The only really solid play I like in this game, though, is Chris Ivory.
Right. Yeah, I don't like running
maybe
backs.
Maybe Bilal Powell to an extent, too.
I don't like running backs against the Jets. They've only allowed 100-yard rushes this year, and it was Spiller, but it was on one run.
I like Emerson Boozer and Joe Ferguson in this game.
There you go.
How you like that?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. About 2% of the population was alive for that. All right.
Lenny Melnick's watching this. That's part of the 2%.
The Baltimore Ravens travel to Chicago to take on the Bears.
Josh McCown starts again. He's played well. I always worry about McCown because he's got a history of erratic play. And I'm always, unfortunately, waiting for that game where it's going to be a stinker.
He's got weapons.
But he's got weapons. He had weapons in the past in Arizona, though, too. So, but I think, in bye week, a lot of good reasons to start him. Brandon Marshall, in this matchup, he's going to get his. Alshon Jeffrey is a top 12 fantasy wide receiver and a must start right now. Don't know how much you can trust Martellus Bennett in there with Josh McCown because Jay Cutler seems to look to him more often. You don't bench Matt Forte on the other side. Torrey Smith is a must start as a wide receiver too every week. And, we don't talk a lot about him. We've been, you've been bashing Trent Richardson. Ray Rice right now, there's absolutely no way that you can start him. He's kind of in that same boat with Trent Richardson.
I'm just apathetic. I feel bad for him.
But you don't feel bad for Trent Richardson?
No. You know why? Richardson, he gets the ball. He's and if you can be too aggressive, he gets it and he runs into me. You watched Donald Brown last night? He ran, he stopped, let the hole open up, or he slowed down. He sets up his blocks and he goes. Richard just plows straight ahead and he runs into people. He truly thinks he's Earl Campbell. And it's not going to work in the NFL.
Ray Rice is not making anybody miss.
No, he's not.
They're just saying maybe the hip is still an issue and you might see more Bernard Pierce. Hopefully that motivates Ray Rice. If nothing else, though, there's no reason. Before the year, if you drafted Ray Rice and handcuffed him with Bernard Pierce, you felt and looked very smart. Now you don't feel so smart.
No, the handcuff isn't doing anything either.
You don't know who's going to get the ball now. You got to avoid this situation.
He's got a lot of mileage on him. He's not been in the NFL that long, but he's got a world of touches on him. So that happens with running backs. It happens.
It does, but it's not applicable to every running back.
Yeah, it's applicable to him apparently. So, all right.
I think he just has a hip problem.
Maybe.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the Battle of Cleveland. The Browns travel to Cincinnati.
You mean the Battle of Ohio?
The Battle of Ohio. I misspoke. My apologies.
Yes.
Battle of Ohio.
Yes.
Cleveland at Cincinnati.
Yes. Without Leon Hole, you got to like Josh Gordon, Jason Campbell. We can make some things happen on offense. You start Jordan Cameron. Cha-Cha cannot pronounce the running back's name. He calls him Chris Oingo Boingo. He means Chris Obanaya. Keep an eye on him to start.
Keep an eye on Cha-Cha?
No, on Chris Obanaya start getting more carries there. Andy Dalton, you can't trust him. Of course, you trust A.J. Green. Marvin Jones is up and down. Watch Tyler Eifert continue to ascend, and Giovanni Bernard can break a big play at any time. He's a great PPR RB2.
And what about Marvin Jones? Nothing?
Marvin Jones, he's always a threat to get in the end zone, but he's very touchdown dependent. It's kind of boom or bust fantasy wise.
And I had two people ask me an unusual question. Two people this week wanted to know if I like Mohamed Sanu in a PPR league. Do you like Mohamed Sanu?
No, he's not even rosterable right now.
Okay. Falcons at the Buccaneers in the disinterest game.
The Falcons are a mess right now.
Yes.
Harry Douglas has a knee problem. We have Tony Gonzalez with the toe. We have Julio Jones has been out. Roddy White's going to face Darrell Revis. Steven Jackson is a shell of his former self. No reason to like Matt Ryan. I never thought I'd say this before the season, but things change. Avoid the Atlanta Falcons this week. On the other side of the ball,
how about the whole fighting against a wounded animal thing? Sometimes
sometimes the animal's too wounded to get
That's
up.
True. That's true.
That's what I feel. These guys are hurt. It's different. It's not like they're out there and healthy and hungry like the Buccaneers were last week against the Miami Dolphins. I think Brian Leonard's going to be the more useful fantasy back of the two. You made some great points about how he played halfback at Rutgers until Ray Rice came along. This guy will score touchdowns. He'll catch passes. I think Rainey will be less reliable.
I like him a lot in a PPR league. I think Rainey's probably the more explosive runner, though.
Yeah, but how explosive is he when he already got cut by another team this year?
Well, I don't think Leonard's an explosive runner. That's why he's been kind of a journeyman player. But I do think in a PPR league, he's going to get the majority of the touches.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't surprise me to see him catch 6, 7, 8 balls out of the backfield.
Yeah. And, Mike Lennon, not somebody I would use, but he won't hurt you if you have to use him if you're desperate. Vincent Jackson, I think, will have a good game. If you're absolutely desperate, maybe go with Tyquan Underwood and at wide receiver. He's been coming along a little.
Okay. Alrighty. Let's move on to the Arizona Cardinals at the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, I think Andre Ellington's going to have a huge game this week. Going to be very explosive.
They seem hesitant to give him the ball too many times. They get to a point where they're like, okay, it's
you know why? Touches. You know why? I've spoke about this before. You probably heard me talk about this. Guys like him, Giovanni Bernard. The fantasy players always want to get them more touches, but it's like Jay Gruden, said about Giovanni Bernard. He said, we don't want to overwork these guys because these type of players, they get tired and then they're not as explosive. These guys aren't built for a heavy workload. Be happy with what you get of Andre Ellington. It's not about you have to get 20, 25 touches. You have a guy like Andre Ellington who's going to make the most of every touch rather than get a huge workload. Right. So I like Ellington a lot. Love Fitzgerald this week. Not too big on Andre Roberts. Michael Floyd was back at practice, the most recent report I have. I think Maurice Jones-Drew can get in the end zone. And, with Mike Brown, everybody was expecting him to step forward. But it's kind of the thing where, he was a third receiver. They were playing catch-up and he was getting the numbers. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I'm not starting Mike Brown until I actually see it happen.
Okay, all right. Let's move down to the South Florida. We have San Diego against the Fish.
I told you to say Miami.
Miami Fish.
Told you just to stick with Miami. Okay? The Dolphins, lots of problems. We'll leave the Richie Incognito stuff for somebody else, but from a pure NFL perspective, it's really hurt the offensive line. You can't use Lamar Miller right now. Mike Wallace has a hamstring problem. That's not good, but this is a bad pass defense. So I think you got to like Brian Hartline and Rashard Matthews to a degree. Phillip Rivers will at least have a decent day. Ryan Matthews should be able to pick up some rushing yardage. Keenan Allen is a must-start at this point, as is Danny Woodhead.
Now,
and Nick Novak's a good kicker.
The quarterback in Miami, he's on pace to, I think, set a record for getting sacked the most times. Claude, they can't protect him.
Yeah, Ryan Tannehill. But San Diego's defense can't get some pressure up front. They got to protect that secondary.
I don't know. But if you get that quick enough, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
Well, okay. All right. Minnesota at your Seattle Seahawks.
Yes. The Percy Harvin storyline is obviously most prominent. I think you can use him as a wide receiver 3 this week. I think he gets in the end zone against his former team. Like I said, Russell Wilson gets all his offensive linemen back this week. He's a top 6 fantasy start this week. I love him. Golden Tate is top 15 at wide receiver. He's been playing so well. You're going to see a lot of Doug Baldwin. I don't think Harvin's going to start. Doug Baldwin's a really good start. Minnesota, bad against the run. You got to love Marshawn Lynch. Until the whole Harvin thing, this game was a marquee fantasy matchup because you had 2 elite fantasy superstar running backs on the same field in Peterson and Lynch. You got to love Peterson, but that's about it. Cordarrelle Patterson's actually going to get a chance to start this week because
he's got wheels.
I like him. I like his measurables a lot. I think next year is the year for Cordarrelle Patterson. But you keeper leaguers, it's good they're getting him into the starting lineup now so he gets in the flow of the game more.
And Ponder's going to be in there.
And Ponder is expected to be in there, which might mean decent things for John Carlson against his former team. The Seahawks, the number 1 defense this week, though, in fantasy for sure.
Really?
Yeah. Why not? It surprises you. It's a very good defense going against Christian Ponder at home.
Okay.
It looked like you were thinking about something else, actually.
I'm not going to say it. Okay.
Say it.
No.
Let
me ask you this. Do you think that, I ask you this every week, this week is Russell Wilson going to throw for more than 200 yards?
He's already done that this season.
Yeah, he does, but his average is teetering around 200 yards. He's more often well under than
Still gets
over.
the fantasy points, though.
He does.
Because he gets the ball in the end zone.
He does. And listen, I don't like him that much as a fantasy quarterback, but he quarterback my team any day. He knows how to win.
Why don't you like him as a fantasy quarterback? He's been among the leaders
it's a
all year
personal thing.
long.
I can't argue with anybody who loves him. He's good.
No, I
just don't like him.
What's not to like fantasy wise?
It's a personal thing. So
everybody I know as Russell Wilson has a winning fantasy record. He gets
I
the
have
ball in
nothing
the end
bad
zone.
to say about him.
And you know what? The outlook only improves now because he gets Harvin and he gets the protection. And the yardage are going to start to go up because Russell Wilson has never, ever, ever, Mike, had a deep threat like Percy Harvin in his career. And Russell Wilson throws a very pretty play-action deep ball.
He does. He does. All right, let's move on. San Francisco at New Orleans.
You know, the Saints defense is pretty darn good. Colin Kaepernick hasn't looked good. His receiving crew's not sturdy. Frank Gore is going to run the ball against this defense, though. They are vulnerable to the run. Yeah. Drew Brees, top quarterback in fantasy football right now. Colston, still can't trust him, but you don't know who's going to get the ball in any given week. In that receiving crew.
When they play at home, everybody should be in the lineup.
Well, most weeks, I can't say that.
If they're healthy.
I can't say that, though, because you never know if it's going to be Marcus Colston one week or Lance Moore, Kenny Stills. Well, the offense is great.
As long as you got Drew Brees, you're good.
As long as the offense is great at home on the road, but the way that Brees spreads the ball around and distributes it with so many guys,
right.
You never know for sure outside of Graham who's going to show up in that passing game. Don't overreact to the Mark Ingram performance last week, though. Don't start him.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Green Bay at New York in Giant Stadium.
Yes, Green Bay at New York in New Jersey. How about that? That's pretty good.
It's actually not Giant Stadium. It's the Meadowlands.
Yeah, it's the Meadowlands.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's MetLife Stadium.
Yeah. Yes.
So the Super Bowl is going to be.
Yes.
That's where it's going to be.
Yes.
Sometimes Jet Stadium or however they do.
They just got to flip the louvers. It's green or it's blue.
And then anyway, Green Bay is coming to play.
Yeah, Scott Tolzien gets the start. He looked decent last week, but no reason to trust
him.
You like
him better than Manning because you're down on Manning.
On Eli Manning?
Yeah.
No, I don't like Scott Tolzien over Eli Manning. I mean, the guy's making his first NFL start this week. I can't roll him out there with any confidence. I'm not saying he can't play well, but that's not a gamble that you take at this time of the year when you're trying to
like
get the
it.
fantasy
As a matter of fact, I don't know
playoffs.
what the over is. I'm going to take the over in this game.
Anyway, you're going to see a lot of Eddie Lacy, but the Giants know that, so you might have another 25-carry, 75-yard type of game. It seems like Tolzien likes to throw to Jared Boykin. You still can't bench Jordy Nelson. Keep an eye on Brandon Bostic, though, is their move tight end. A guy that Tolzien may have worked with in practice. Sometimes you see this when the third string quarterback comes into the game. They've worked a lot with a guy in practice or on the scout team. They'll go to that guy in a game. It could be Brandon Bostic for him. For Eli Manning, don't like him, because he just hasn't shown us enough this year to like him. But I do think Victor Cruz will bounce back, drop the catchable ball for a touchdown last week. I still call him the bodega because he's always open. And you got to like Andre Brown, I think, a lot this week to get in the end zone. You can't trust Hakeem Nicks at this point.
Remember last week when I told you Eli was going to be due?
Yeah.
He wasn't due.
Right.
It
Because
was a baseball term.
Yeah, it's a baseball term.
This week he's due.
No, nobody's doing football.
saying.
It's not applicable.
I admitted I was wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm going to redo. I'm doubling down.
All right.
They're both going to lie. Both quarterbacks, even Tolzien. They're gonna
Eli
line
Manning has a good game.
Both of them.
It's not because
There'll be no defense
because
here
it's
at all.
not baseball.
Kansas City at Denver, the game that everybody's waiting for, except for me, because I'm waiting for the Monday night game. But this is a very, very interesting game.
It is, but you don't just purely look at the defense. You really can't bench any Broncos. They're almost matchup proof. But with Eli Manning, with Peyton Manning's ankle, though, I think you're going to see a different style of offense where, more underneath high percentage throws that bodes very well for Wes Welker and Julius Thomas. Of course, Demaryius Thomas can catch a screen at any time and take it to the house. But I think, Eric Decker's more of a downfield guy. It doesn't bode well for Decker. If I had to rank the receivers this week for Denver, it would go Welker, then Demaryius Thomas, and then Decker. No-Show Moreno might have some trouble running the ball. You love Jamal Charles. This is going to be a challenge for Kansas City offensively, though. If Denver plays to optimum sort of offense here, Kansas City doesn't have the weapons to slug it out offensively with a team like Denver.
But Denver's defense sucks.
Yeah, but Denver's defense, but
Jacksonville was going up and down the field on him.
Alex Smith really,
Jacksonville had him beat for 3 quarters.
Alex Smith doesn't have any playmakers in the passing game. Secondly, this team is going to want to be conservative because they're going to want to keep the other offense off the field.
I understand,
they're
but
going to try
if they
to
get
milk
behind,
the clock. If they get behind, they're in a lot of trouble.
Here's my thing.
If they get behind, they're in a lot of trouble. They don't have the playmakers.
Would you
Wait,
agree?
hold on.
If Kansas City wins,
let me answer this question
it's going to be
first.
a low-scoring game.
It'll
If
be a
Denver
low-scoring
wins,
game.
It's a high
It'll
scoring
be like 21,
whatever.
20,
But if Denver
like
wins,
that.
it's going to be a blowout.
Yeah, because here's the thing.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing that Kansas City is not built for catch-up. They haven't had to play catch-up all year long. They're not built for catch-up.
Yeah, I know, but Denver's defense is awful. Like I said, anybody can move the ball on.
But the Kansas City passing game is not that good.
I don't think you have to be good to move the ball in Denver. Listen, if Denver wins, they're going to win.
How are they going to move
40 something? 42 to 28.
How are they going to move the ball
They'll
on
move the
Denver?
ball.
With
Denver's
who?
awful.
With who?
They'll throw it to anybody. Whatever
With
scrubs
who?
they got.
With who?
Whatever scrubs they got. Then McCluster will come running out of the backfield. Charles will come running out of the
They're
backfield.
not built to play catch-up.
Bo is he even playing?
Bo's been horrible.
Is he playing? Is he on
Yes.
crutches or whatever?
Yes.
Well, either way, if he comes out there on crutches and everything,
He's not hurt. He got in trouble with the law.
He's got trouble with the law.
Yeah.
He'll come out there with a traffic ticket, and even him.
Guy's trying to tell me he doesn't even know he's in trouble.
I know there was some bug. He's awful. He's awful. He's not in anybody's roster that I know.
These Kansas City Chiefs haven't had to play catch-up. They're not built to play catch-up.
Well, you make it like they stink. They're 9-0.
No, because of defense and a good
And special teams.
good, very conservative game management.
And he doesn't turn the ball over.
He doesn't turn the ball over, but they've never had to play catch up. And if they get in a situation, especially in the playoffs, and it's not fantasy related, once they get in the playoffs and they got to play catch up, they're dead.
What did
They're
you?
dead.
Let me ask you this: what did you see Alex Smith do in the playoffs when he was in a shootout?
When
When he was with San Francisco?
San Francisco was a much better offense.
Did he play a game? And he not only kept up, he bested. I'm not saying he's a better quarterback. He actually bested Drew Brees in that game. Matched him throw for throw.
That was a better offense, though.
he was the one throwing the ball.
But the receivers were much better.
It's not like he doesn't have the capability to do it if he's in that situation.
He doesn't have the type of playmakers. He didn't have the type of playmakers that he's got now.
But that defense stinks.
But he doesn't have. But the passing game stinks.
I agree. So it's sticky on sticky. They got a shot. All right, let's move on. New England to Carolina. Now, you're benching Brady. I heard you say
Carson
before.
Palmer. It's not that simple. You would like it to be that simple because you're simple.
You're benching him for Manning.
Which one, Peyton or Eli?
Either one, just being general.
I'd bench him for Peyton, but not for Eli.
Oh, this week you would? For Peyton?
I'm not benching Peyton Manning.
Okay.
And most fantasy teams don't have Peyton Manning and Tom Brady.
No. I'm asking you. We had a question. Should I bench Manning? Or no, somebody wanted to trade Manning because he feared going against Kansas City twice. So you have Manning this week. You're playing him. That's it.
To me, some guys are matchup proof.
Well, there's a question as to his health too. So it's not just
he's still matchup proof as long as he's standing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. So New England at Carolina. What do you got here?
I think this is Carolina's first real test of the season. As far as facing an offense, because the Patriots now, they have Gronkowski, they have Amendola, Aaron Dobson is playing real good football, and they might get Shane Vereen back this week as well.
Right.
So it's going to be the most complete offense that the New England Patriots have possibly had all season. Nobody's actually seen this offense play together, so how much can Carolina even prepare for this as good as they've been defensively? They haven't faced a quarterback the caliber of Tom Brady all year long. But I give him credit. It's a good defense.
You won 3 weeks ago. You were talking about it might be wrong, but it may be time that Tom Brady may be on his way out.
But you know what though? I was wrong on that. I was wrong on that. But now that he's got everybody back healthy, it's a different.
You knew they
Brady.
were coming back when you said it.
When I said it, Gronk and Amendola were already back for a week.
No, because he had a bad week. Now that he had a good week, you're all
No, because I've seen the improvement of Aaron Dobson. And Shane Vereen is coming back. They're running the ball better. The offense is more complete around Tom Brady now. And I think you at least get a respectable game out of him. You can't bench Gronk. I think if Brady's going to be throwing the ball, he's got to go to Amendola. I like him as a wide receiver 2 this week. Vereen, it's really going to depend. It might be a game day decision. So if you have a close decision between Vereen and another guy, I would go with the other guy just to play it safe. People are saying, is Vereen going to affect Ridley's workload? No, because they play two different types of roles. Ridley's the inside runner. Vereen goes out in the passing game and works on the edges. On the other side of the ball, Cam Newton gets another tough matchup here. It wouldn't surprise me if this game was like 17-14. Cam Newton gets another tough matchup this week. I really don't like any Panthers to use at all this week.
You like Steve Smith in a big game?
No, Steve Smith's been very disappointing. But you know what, though? Actually, Monday Night Football, Steve Smith gets fired up, catches a touchdown pass. Wouldn't shock me, but Steve Smith is not in my top 25 wide receivers this week.
Okay. Well, when was the last time you had him in the top 25?
2011?
So he hasn't been relevant for you for a while.
No, maybe sometime early in 2012.
Okay. All right, that's it for Week 11. We'll see you back here next week. I want to thank Noel Gallagher, Billy Ripken, Tom Petty, Mike Richter, and my sidekick, Scott Engel. And we'll see you back next week.
Now's the time to work and strain at a sport that tests the spirit and challenges the brain.
Come on, let's go. Yeah, I'd like to have 75 degrees and sunny all the time too, but that's not football.
Do you fear the force of the wind, the slash of the rain?
We're gonna play us through light and rain.
Go face them and fight them. Be savage again.